Have you ever felt different, like something about you doesn't quite fit in the world around you? Maybe that sense of being out of the ordinary has followed you throughout your life, and you've never been able to explain why. Know that this difference could be a clear sign that you are one of God's chosen. In this video, we will explore 7 spiritual signs that reveal you are not like other people and what this means for your spiritual growth. If you've noticed that certain events in your life go beyond coincidence, or if you feel called to a greater purpose, stay until the end of this video because I will show you how God is acting in a special way in your life. Now, more than ever, it is important for God's message to reach as many people as possible. So if you feel touched by this content and believe others need to hear it, don't forget to help the channel grow. Share this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your like. By doing so, you are spreading God's word and helping us reach more hearts with this Christian reflection. And if you are in need of help or prayer, leave your request in the comments. We will be praying for each of you because together we are stronger in faith. Invisible mark of God. Have you ever stopped to think about how God works subtly yet powerfully in your life? Those who are chosen by Him carry something special, an invisible mark that not everyone can see. This mark of God is not visible to the human eye but is recognized through the spiritual signs He places in your path. Do you notice that even in the hardest times, there is protection beyond what any person can offer? This is God acting to protect His children and demonstrating that your calling is special. This mark, though imperceptible to many, is the seal of divine purpose in your life. God's chosen feel this protection constantly, almost as if there is an invisible barrier against evil. Have you ever experienced moments when it seemed impossible to escape a tough situation, but suddenly everything resolved in an unexpected way? This is not a coincidence. When you surrender to a different life with God, you begin to see these signs of God more clearly. It's as if every detail of your path is being carefully guided by a divine hand. This mark is a guarantee that despite the adversities, you are not alone. What's most fascinating is that this invisible mark not only protects but also sets you apart. Deep down in your heart, you feel that your life has a divine purpose greater than what others can understand. The challenges you face? They are opportunities that God places for your spiritual growth. This doesn't mean your journey will always be easy, but there is a higher force guiding you toward God's will. With every obstacle you overcome, you get closer to your spiritual destiny, becoming a stronger and more prepared person to fulfill God's calling. It's important to understand that this mark is not limited to the physical aspect. God also offers emotional and spiritual protection. The inner peace you feel, even amid storms, is a reflection of this divine protection. Do you know that feeling of tranquility you have when praying, even when the world seems to be collapsing around you? That is God's presence comforting you and showing that He is in control of everything. You may not see the mark with your eyes, but you certainly feel its impact in your heart and soul. Furthermore, living according to God's truth and love is the greatest evidence of this mark in your life. When you act with humility, place God's love above all, and always seek the truth, you are demonstrating that you have been marked by Him. People around you may not understand the depth of your Christian faith, but they notice something different about you. Your life reflects the light of God, and this is noticed even if they can't explain it. You feel that you were chosen for a greater mission, something that transcends human understanding but makes perfect sense in your heart. This mark, besides protecting, guides your life in surprising ways. Do you ever wonder, what is my purpose here? It is in these moments that God's mark becomes most evident, leading you to reflect and find the true meaning of your life with Him. God always works in the details, and this invisible mark is one of the ways He uses to guide, protect, and shape you for something greater. With every step, you get closer to what He has planned for you, and this is just the beginning of your spiritual journey. Signs of the Divine Mark. The mark of God in your life is not something that can be seen, but its signs are clearly perceptible to those with spiritual sensitivity. When you are chosen by God, unconditional love becomes one of the most evident signs in your journey. You begin to experience a type of love that goes beyond words, a love that is demonstrated in your actions and in how you treat others. This love is an expression of the divine mark in you because it reflects God's heart towards all. Think about how many times you felt this deep desire to love without expecting anything in return. This is a powerful sign that you carry something special. Another sign that cannot be ignored is inner peace. Have you noticed how, even in the most challenging moments, there is an inexplicable calm in your heart? This peace is not something that the world can offer. It comes directly from God. When you are aligned with God's will, this inner peace is like a compass guiding you through life's storms. This serenity, even amid chaos, is a clear sign of God's presence in your life. To cultivate it, a useful practice is meditating on God's Word, allowing your mind and spirit to connect with the Creator. Perseverance in faith is another sign that you have been marked by God. Many may give up when things get tough, but when you have this mark, something within you pushes you to keep going, even when circumstances say otherwise. God gives you the strength necessary to move forward, regardless of the obstacles that arise along the way. If you feel this constant desire to advance, even when everything seems to be against you, know that this is not by chance. It is a clear sign that God is working within you, strengthening and preparing you for something greater. Commitment to the truth is another fundamental point. When God's mark is on your life, you become someone who values truth and strives to live according to Christian principles. The desire to serve and commit to what is right becomes a priority for you. And this doesn't just mean speaking the truth, but also living with integrity, honoring your values and the promises that God has placed in your heart. Commitment to truth brings clarity to your choices and draws you closer to the divine purpose that God has designed for you. Humility is one of the most sublime virtues that the divine mark can bring. When you are chosen by God, your heart is shaped to recognize that everything you have and everything you are comes from Him. This makes you a humble person, someone who knows that success and blessings don't come from your own hands but from God's hands. This desire to serve and help others without expecting recognition or rewards is one of the greatest signs of God's presence in your life. Whenever you act with humility, God manifests in your actions. Finally, we cannot forget about divine protection. When you carry God's mark, you are under protection that goes beyond what you can imagine. God's hand acts as an invisible shield, guarding you from dangers you often don't even notice. Perhaps you have experienced situations where you clearly felt that something greater spared you from imminent harm. This protection is no coincidence. It is one of the most evident signs that God is guiding and protecting you so that you can fulfill His calling in your life. Biblical examples. Throughout the Bible, we find numerous examples of how the divine mark protects and guides God's chosen ones in crucial moments. One of the most impactful stories is that of Daniel in the lion's den. Placed in an extremely dangerous situation, Daniel kept his unwavering faith in God, trusting that divine protection would be with him. The lions, which could have easily taken his life, remained harmless. This is a clear sign of God's invisible mark operating in his life, a manifestation of spiritual protection that transcends human understanding. Just like Daniel, you too can trust that God is present even in the moments of greatest affliction. Another powerful example is that of David facing Goliath. Here we see how God not only protects but also empowers his chosen ones to overcome seemingly impossible challenges. David, young and inexperienced in battles, was not intimidated by the giant's size or strength. He knew he carried God's mark and that his faith was what truly mattered in that fight. With a simple stone, he defeated Goliath, showing that when God is in control, the impossible becomes possible. This story reminds us that just like David, you too can overcome the giants in your life as long as you fully trust in God. The story of Joseph in Egypt is another example of how God's mark guides and transforms lives. Sold by his brothers and thrown into a series of adversities, Joseph could have easily given up. However, he remained faithful to God, and over time, he was elevated to a prominent position, becoming second in command over all of Egypt. This rise was not due to luck or chance, but because of the divine purpose that God had for his life. If you find yourself in a difficult phase, remember that God may be using this moment to prepare you for something much greater. The road may be tough, but the reward for those who have faith is grand. Divine protection can also be seen in the story of Moses. From his birth, when he was placed in a basket on the Nile River to escape death, to his leadership in the exodus of the people of Israel, Moses was always guided by God. Even when all seemed lost before the Red Sea, God's mark was upon him, and the sea parted, allowing him and the people to pass safely. God is the one who opens paths where there are none, and this is something you can experience in your own life. Even when everything seems closed, God can surprise you by creating solutions where you see no way out. The prophet Elijah also experienced God's mark in moments of great trial. Fleeing into the desert, tired and discouraged, he was sustained by God in a miraculous way, receiving food brought by ravens and water from an unlikely source. This care shows how God provides for his chosen ones even when everything seems scarce. Just like Elijah, you can trust that when you are at the center of God's will, he will supply all your needs, often in ways you never imagined. Divine provision is one of the greatest guarantees for those who carry this mark. These biblical examples show us that God's mark is not something distant or merely theoretical. It is a living reality that manifests itself in concrete ways in your life, especially when you need it most. Each of these biblical figures faced enormous challenges, but God empowered, protected, and led them to fulfill their purposes. And the same can happen to you. When you carry God's mark, you can trust that he is guiding every step of your path and that, just as he did in the past, he will continue to do great things in your life. Protection against evil. The protection that God offers to his chosen goes far beyond what we can see or comprehend. When you carry the divine mark, there is an invisible protection that shields you from dangers you often do not even notice. This protection against evil is not limited to the physical, but also extends to the emotional and spiritual. God acts as a shield, keeping you away from negative influences and traps that could divert you from your divine purpose. Have you ever encountered situations where something seemed wrong, but at the last moment, something stopped you from going in that direction? This is not a coincidence. It is God's hand protecting you. In addition to keeping evil away from approaching, God also strengthens your spirit so that you can resist the temptations and trials that arise throughout life. The Bible teaches us that evil is always lurking, seeking an opportunity to bring us down. However, when you rely on Christian faith and strengthen yourself in God's Word, you become unshakable in the face of the enemy's attacks. A practical example that can help you is maintaining a constant prayer routine and reading the Bible, fortifying your mind and spirit to face challenges with wisdom and discernment. This divine protection also manifests in moments of great emotional distress. Have you ever felt a weight in your heart, an anguish that seemed endless, but after praying or meditating in God's presence, it simply disappeared? This is God acting in your life, healing your emotional wounds and giving you inner peace. He protects you not only from what is visible but also from what touches your soul. When you place your worries and anxieties in His hands, you can feel this protection strengthening within you, bringing a calm that the world cannot offer. Another aspect of this protection is how God saves us from dangerous situations. Many times, we have no idea how many times we have been spared from accidents or circumstances that could have caused great harm. God's protection surrounds us so deeply that even when we don't realize it, we are being guarded. You know those moments when you change your plans at the last minute and later find out that something bad happened where you were supposed to be? This is a reflection of the divine mark guiding your steps away from danger. It's also important to remember that this protection doesn't mean an absence of difficulties. God does not promise us a life without problems, but guarantees that He will be by our side in all situations. In the moments of greatest pain or challenge, you can be sure that you are not alone. God uses these situations to shape, strengthen, and take you to a deeper level of spiritual growth. The mark of God in your life is the seal that even in the most intense battles, you have protection that goes beyond what any human being can offer. God's presence in your life is a guarantee of safety, and this security comes from your faith and trust in Him. When you walk with God, evil may try to get close, but it will never have the last word. This divine protection surrounds you like armor, not only to deliver you from danger, but also to strengthen and prepare you to fulfill the purpose that God has for you. And this journey of protection and spiritual growth is just the beginning of a different life with God, where each challenge is an opportunity to experience even more of His love and care. Living according to truth and love. Living according to God's truth and love is one of the greatest signs that you carry the divine mark in your life. Those who are chosen by God not only know what truth is but strive to live it daily. This is reflected in your actions, thoughts, and decisions. God's love, which is unconditional, begins to shape your choices and your relationships with others. When you act based on this love, your life becomes a reflection of God's light to the world. And this light is what makes people around you notice that there is something special about you, even if they can't explain it. By choosing to live according to God's truth, you are automatically aligning yourself with divine purpose. This means that your life begins to be guided by the principles and values of the Christian faith. When you place God as a priority, you start to notice that decisions become clearer, choices easier, because you are walking in harmony with His will. A practical example is always seeking divine guidance through prayer before making important decisions. This simple habit can bring immense inner peace, as you know you are being guided by truth and not by external pressures. Living God's love also means demonstrating compassion and humility in all your interactions. Those who bear the mark of God are recognized by their genuine desire to serve others without expecting anything in return. This is something that can transform not only your life but the lives of everyone around you. A small act of love, such as helping someone in need, can make an immense difference, showing that you live according to the teachings of Jesus. And this love is contagious. When you act in love, others are inspired to do the same, creating a chain of goodness that reflects God's own heart. God's truth is an anchor for your faith. When you live according to this truth, your faith becomes unshakable because it is not based on circumstances but on God's unchanging character. The world may try to lead you astray, offering shortcuts or easier paths, but when you are firmly rooted in God's truth, these distractions don't tempt you. On the contrary, you remain focused on God's calling for your life, knowing that this fidelity to truth will bring blessings and spiritual growth. Reading the Bible regularly can help you reinforce this truth daily, nourishing your soul and strengthening you to live according to divine principles. God's love also transforms the way you view difficulties. When you live according to this love, challenges stop being obstacles and become opportunities to demonstrate your faith. You realize that God is not only by your side in moments of joy but also in trials. And it is in these trials that God's love becomes most evident, giving you the strength to continue, even when everything seems difficult. Remembering that God has a greater purpose for your life gives you the courage to face any challenge with confidence and faith. Living according to God's truth and love is more than a choice. It is a lifestyle that draws you closer to divine purpose. With each act of kindness, each choice made with integrity, you are showing the world that God's mark is present in your life. This not only transforms you but also impacts everyone around you, creating an environment where God's love can be felt and experienced. And this journey of living based on truth and love is continuous, leading you to an ever deeper level of spiritual growth and understanding of what God wants to accomplish in your life. Mission and purpose. When God places His mark on you, He also establishes a clear mission and purpose for your life. The divine mark is not only a sign of protection and love, but also a constant reminder that your life has a greater meaning. Each challenge you face, each obstacle on your path, is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. God uses these moments to shape your character and align you with the divine purpose He has laid out for you. Have you ever wondered why certain situations seem harder for you than for others? Perhaps it's because your mission requires more preparation, more strength, for what God has planned for you is extraordinary. God's mission for your life often reveals itself gradually. Sometimes it may seem confusing or distant, but as you deepen your relationship with God, it becomes increasingly clear. This purpose is not just about personal success or material achievements, but a spiritual impact that goes beyond what you can see. When you embrace God's calling, you begin to realize that every experience, good or bad, is part of a larger plan. A practical step to align with this purpose is to dedicate time to prayer and Christian reflection, asking God to reveal what He wants you to do in each phase of your life. The obstacles you encounter along the way are, in fact, opportunities that God uses to take you to new levels of spiritual growth. It's important to remember that just like the biblical figures who faced great challenges, God allows you to face difficulties because He knows you can overcome them. These challenges are not punishments but part of the process of perfection that God works in your life. With each victory, you get closer to fulfilling the purpose that God has for you. And when you look back, you will see that even the most difficult moments were essential to your development. One of the most rewarding aspects of living God's mission is that you not only find your purpose but also help others find theirs. God calls you to be a channel of blessings, to use your gifts and talents for the benefit of those around you. When you serve others with God's love, you are fulfilling the divine purpose. This can be as simple as a word of encouragement, an act of kindness, or wise counsel. When you align with God's will, your life begins to have an impact that transcends your own expectations. God's purpose not only brings direction to your life, but also gives you a reason to persevere even on the hardest days. Knowing that you are working on something greater than yourself is what motivates you to keep going, even when everything seems to be falling apart. God doesn't give you a mission without also equipping you with the tools to fulfill it. If at any moment you feel like something is missing, remember that God will supply all your needs. He is faithful to complete the work He started in you, and over time you will see how everything fits perfectly into His plan. Following God's calling may not be the easiest path, but it is certainly the most rewarding. With every step you take toward the purpose God has designated for you, you experience a sense of fullness and satisfaction that the world cannot offer. Your life begins to have an eternal impact, and that is something no earthly success can provide. As you continue your journey, remember that God is guiding you and that the mission He has given you is unique, designed specifically for you. And this is just the beginning of the great purpose He has for your life: divine provision and favor. When you carry God's mark, your life is marked by a provision that goes beyond the ordinary. God not only protects and guides you but also provides for all your needs, often in unexpected ways. Those who are chosen by God experience miracles in their daily lives, from small opportunities to great blessings that seem to appear out of nowhere. Do you know when something you needed so much appears at the right time without you expecting it? This is a clear example of divine provision, a manifestation of God's favor that is always present, even when you don't notice it. God's favor also manifests in the doors He opens for you. Often, you will find yourself in situations where opportunities arise in a supernatural way, and this is a direct reflection of the divine mark in your life. These opportunities are not just for your personal benefit, but are also part of the divine purpose that God is fulfilling through you. When you completely surrender to God's will, His favor becomes evident in all aspects of your life, from relationships to career. To recognize these opportunities, it is essential to be in tune with God through constant prayer and reflection. God's provision is not limited to material things. He also provides wisdom, strength, and courage to face life's challenges. Have you ever gone through moments when you didn't seem to have the answer or solution to a problem, but suddenly a clear idea popped into your mind? This is God equipping you, giving you the discernment needed to deal with complex situations. He provides everything you need to fulfill His purpose, not only material resources but also spiritual ones. To cultivate this, a helpful practice is to meditate on God's promises, reminding yourself that He is faithful to fulfill each one of them. God's favor can also be seen in how He gives you grace in the eyes of people. Often, without you even realizing it, people around you are touched by God's presence in your life. This translates into recognition, support, and opportunities that seem to arise from unexpected places. When God places His mark on you, He makes even those who do not know the Christian faith recognize something special in you. This favor is a way for God to open doors and place you in positions you would never have imagined. And this is just the beginning of how God can lift you up according to His perfect plan. In addition to providing what you need, God also surprises you with blessings beyond what you expect. Often, He goes beyond what you asked for or dreamed of. This is the nature of God's love. He not only takes care of your needs but pours abundance into your life. This doesn't mean you will never face difficulties, but even in times of scarcity, God will be there, providing everything miraculously. A practical example is trusting God financially, even in times of crisis. When you place your trust in Him, He takes care of every detail, ensuring that you never lack. Living under God's favor is experiencing a different life with Him, a life marked by miraculous provisions and unexpected blessings. When you understand that this provision doesn't come by chance but from God Himself, your faith is strengthened, and you begin to live with more gratitude and trust. The path God has for you is filled with blessings, and the more you surrender to His purpose, the more clearly you will see these provisions manifest in your life. Each day is an opportunity to experience more of divine favor, and this journey of faith is a continuous learning of how great God's love is for you. Now that you know the signs that show you are one of God's chosen, it's time to put all this knowledge into practice. Do you feel in your heart that you've been called to a different life with God? Maybe He has already shown you signs of His presence in difficult or unexpected moments. What will you do with this? Don't let this calling go unnoticed. God is preparing you for something greater, and it's up to you to embrace this mission with faith and determination. How have you been reflecting on the divine purpose in your life? If this content has touched your heart in some way, write in the comments. We want to know how these messages have helped you, and if needed, share your prayer request. We are here to pray for you because we know the power of prayer and how much it can transform lives. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning more about how God is acting in your life. The journey with God is continuous, and there is much more to discover and live on the path He has laid out for you.